Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our professional development session 1. We are excited that you have joined us. I am going to kick off our session with a little bit more about AGIC. Shay already told you a whole bunch today, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more. Patrick Whiteford is going to follow me, and he's going to share about our new mentorship program through AGIC. And then Jennifer Pasilis is going to follow Patrick, and she's going to talk to us about how to be our best selves on LinkedIn. So I'm excited for the session. Just a reminder that questions should go in the Q&A. We have Mariah Matson that's helping us moderate. So at the end of each presentation, we'll take questions, and please join the chat as well and talk among yourselves. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my presentation ready. And then I'll share my screen. Okay. All right, can you all see it? Maybe Mariah, can you give me a heads up that I'm good?
You're good.
Awesome. All right, so I wanted to talk about AGIC beyond the symposium, right? A couple years ago, we hired Casey Green at Land, and we're super excited to have him. He is our AZ Geo curator. And in his interview, I asked about whether or not he knew anything about AGIC. And he said, oh yeah, I went to that. I went to that like last year, I think. And it struck me that he thought AGIC was just the conference. And I think he's not alone. So I wanted to spend a little time and talk to you guys about AGIC outside of the conference, because we do stuff all year long, and probably is worth it to share that the conference committee plans this event all year long. So there's lots of ways to get involved, and there's lots of things happening. So for those of you who don't know, I make the assumption that everybody knows the AGIC mascot. I am the Deputy State Cartographer for Arizona, and I work for Arizona State Land. So we'll see if my slides work. There we go. So AGIC really is more than just a conference. Technically, the Arizona Geographic Information Council was formed in 1989, and it's a governor-appointed board. We have 35 council members that are appointed, and that serves as kind of the advisory group for Arizona State Land. So Arizona State Land was identified originally as the best state agency to have AGIC under, because our needs, our business needs, are so diverse when it comes to data and data needs. So Land manages 9.3 million acres, and we have a huge array of different needs, and that means that we need a lot of different data. So all the other state agencies kind of got together in the legislature, and they decided that Land was the best place to house AGIC. And that we would serve, as AGIC, we would serve the state and the local communities, regions, counties, all of that, as kind of the hub for GIS, so that we could disseminate data, we could act as the coordinating center, and we could act as a forum, right? So that we all can coordinate really well. So you all can read. I'll let you read this slide on your own. In the big news is that in 2009, we were actually a legislative council. So that gave us a little more stability in the state. And now we have state, local, federal, university, private sector representatives on the council. It gives us a really good base for perspective, right? Are we meeting all the needs of the state? That's what's really important. So there's some statutes that enable Land and AGIC to do our job really well, right? And that's kind of how, that's not kind of, AGIC, that's how AGIC is under Land, is by statute. So ALRIS, I think some of you have heard about ALRIS. ALRIS is the Arizona Land Resource Information System. That was established first. And that the purpose of ALRIS was to support other state agencies in their GIS needs. built on that is AGIC, because the state really saw a need to support GIS outside of just state agencies, because as you guys all know, most of the authoritative data comes from the locals and moves up. And the state is just very dependent on the important work that all the locals do. The state cartographer's office was established in statute. That is to provide some continuity and stability over time. That is my office, and Lisa heads that. You all heard from her this morning. So she is given me the responsibility of maintaining that office. And then finally, AZGO is our responsibility as well. So that is the one-stop shop for Arizona for authoritative data, and I think most of you know about AZGO already. We'll talk a little bit more as we go. So this is a snapshot of our org chart. You can see the councils on the top, and while those are all appointed positions by the governor, they are still voluntary. So there is no one receives any kind of financial benefit from sitting on the council or volunteering their time. All the groups underneath the council, those are all volunteer run. So anyone is welcome. We have open forums and open discussion. There is, in AGIC, we really believe in community. So getting your ideas and participating at the committee and work group level, that's what gets our work done in Arizona. You can see that we have a pretty wide array of different groups, different subject matter experts, different topics to discuss. There's a lot of different opportunity based on your interest. So data is probably one of the more active, and if you are limited on time and can only attend one meeting, the data committee meeting is really insightful, because that's where you hear about the work that's happening at all the work groups underneath data, as well as what's happening at the national level. I do typically give a report on the council objectives as well. So you can see kind of how we're structured, and because our community is so open, we get a lot done. It's really pretty incredible. There is a link at the bottom, and I think that Mariah can put a link in the chat for me. This is how and where we want to see you. So on our website, you can learn more about what each of the groups are doing. There's also a form under the participate button that will get you on the distribution list for any of these. All right, so let's keep going. There's our AZGO. I think most of you guys know about AZGO. This is a one-stop shop for authoritative data. We have an open data site. We also have a link to the AGIC communities. We have information on metadata and how to share your data most responsibly so that everybody uses it appropriately and for the intent that it was built for. If you choose to be a registered AZGO user, that gives you access to the back end. And the back end is ArcGIS Online. I think many of you are familiar with that. So there are capabilities and functionality to be able to collaborate across jurisdictions and with each other, as well as to create maps and apps, and you have access to the suite of apps for ArcGIS Online. So, you know, it's a really fabulous resource for Arizona, and it just keeps growing. We have been modernized for about a year, so we just keep growing. You can also learn a little bit more about our partnerships and the other agencies that we support in their initiatives to help Arizona. It's an incredible resource for us. All right, so this is what this is about, right? Beyond the conference, how you can get involved. So it can be as simple and as complex as you want, as integrated and surface. We call folks that just like to come to the meetings and kind of check it out and not say anything, lurkers. And the lurkers are important. Eventually the lurkers become our contributors as well. So to get your feet wet, come and attend a meeting, see what we're talking about, and see how you can contribute to all of our efforts, right? You can attend an AGIC event like this one, but our groups have events all year long. It's all about information exchange and learning. We want to hear from all of you. So volunteering to present and contributing in that way is really beneficial to the whole ecosystem. It's important. All right, and there's training, right? So this is my pitch to volunteer because we are an all volunteer organization. Please join us. All right, we'll continue on. So these are the benefits for you guys, right? So you get access to resources and data and tools. That's AZGeo. Resources come as people too, right? So you can learn about what other folks are doing in the state and what efforts are being undertaken across disciplines and jurisdictions. There's incredible networking opportunities, training and professional development opportunities like this, and you can earn credits towards your GISP, and that's important, right? To continue your education. And you can make a lasting impact. You can have pride in that you've contributed to the GIS community and the Arizona geospatial ecosystem. This is really what makes everything function and work. It's important. So I hope you join us. I am gonna go to my last slide. Mariah, are there any questions in the Q&A? Anything in the chat for me?
We just have Joanna wanting to know a little bit more about the cadastral work group.
Okay, that's great. So the cadastral work group is working on best practices and guidelines for the Arizona community in what framework should we be using and at what scale, under what circumstances, right? So they're putting out documents on workflow, where parcels are available, how that works and how people can access them. What's the most appropriate scale in your project to be using what cadastral grid, right? What does that mean? And as you know, that can get a little complicated. So the work group really does a great job of simplifying it. One of the most recent recommendations from the cadastral work group is to form a parcel administrators group on AZGeo so that they can be available to answer questions from the community and to be able to collaborate to make data available. So it's a really exciting time, and it's an important group. Anything else?
That is all.
Perfect. I think I have stopped sharing, I hope. It is my pleasure to introduce Patrick Whiteford. Patrick is one of our outreach committee chairs, and he has led a really important effort this year. He has developed our AGIC mentorship program, and he's going to tell you all about it. So Patrick, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yeah. Thank you, Jenna. Let me share my screen and start from there. All right. All right. Jenna, can everyone see the screen?
Can. That's perfect.
Well, thank you so much, Jenna, for that welcome and that warm introduction. So again, I'm Patrick Whiteford. I'm with the Arizona Department of Transportation in their planning division. I am the GIS group manager, and I have been the lucky recipient of years of mentoring from the AGIC community in very much of an ad hoc way of things in the past. So as Jenna said, this has been something that the Outreach Committee has worked tirelessly on over the last several months to bring a full-fledged mentoring program to the AGIC community. A little bit of background on this is just, mentoring has always happened within the AGIC community, but much more in an ad hoc, hey, I've met someone, I want to make a connection with them and then learn more from them in every facet of our career, whether it's from a technical perspective or more visionary and strategic perspective as you grow in your career. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak today at the AGIC Symposium. I'm super excited about this program. This has been somewhat a brain trust and a desire for me to give back to the community that I've taken so much from over the years. The Arizona geospatial community is absolutely amazing. And I encourage all of you who are participating in this symposium this year to get involved in different committees that fit your desire and your interest. So moving on. So let's start off with the basic stuff. So what is the mentoring program? And really the goal of the mentoring program is really to promote professional development in the form of a mentor and a mentee relationship, okay? And that would take the form of improving your skill sets, whether that's in technology, learning more geoprocessing or how to do coding, all the way through leadership. How can you become a better public speaker or improve some of your soft skills about how do you meet with people, how do you meet with management, help them understand the power of the GIS, something that Frank talked about yesterday in his keynote. So that's really has really been the brain trust of what the AGIC mentoring program started off with. And this is something that I wanted to kind of put together for quite some time. And then becoming part of the leadership of the Outreach Committee, it gave me the ability to make it come to fruition. So what to expect as a mentor and a mentee? So I think first of all, we need to kind of talk through what's the difference between these two roles. And a mentor basically is your job as a mentor is to provide guidance to your mentee, okay? And that, again, whether it's technology related or visionary, the mentee is the one who really drives the discussion, who really brings topics to the mentor to talk through. And so it's really the job of the mentee to help drive the discussion throughout the relationship. The mentor is there to really provide targeted input, as well as really flex their communication muscle, which takes the form of not only how do you speak appropriately, but how do you listen, okay? I can't overemphasize the ability to listen is incredibly important as a communication mechanism, okay? So, how do you get involved? And as Jenna has said, this is a completely volunteer-based organization, and actually, I think that's the best way to go with these things, because that really provide the people who get involved they have the fire in their belly to do things the right way and get involved for the right reasons. So, I think for the real benefits of the mentoring program that I see are really starting to build out your professional network. It's one thing to have 100 links to people on LinkedIn, but how do you have real relationships with those people? Can you call them up and say, hey, I've got this challenge within the agency, I have no idea how to solve it, and be able to ask your network those targeted questions to get some feedback. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Like this program, I want, it's one of those things where it's okay to be vulnerable and say, like, I simply don't know, but I know where to go to get the solutions. The other thing is, developing your skill sets in on all facets of our career. Okay, so not just understanding the point and clicks of what goes on in our GIS or in any other software, but also being able to improve, public speaking skill sets, or your visionary aspects of what you do. And maybe you're a new manager in a new role, and you just don't know where to start. The mentoring program is there to help you. The other thing is, gain experience and help with your GISP contributions. This is something that can greatly help you with that to get you closer to that GIS professional certification. So, just food for thought to look at there. I think there's a lot of amazing things that I probably haven't even touched on, but it's I definitely encourage you to start getting involved. So, high level overview of what this is going to look like. So the mentoring application is currently open, and it's going to be open for several more weeks now. This is kind of our soft kickoff, here at the AGIC Symposium. Wanted to kind of really bring awareness to this. Once the application closes, we're going to have some internal discussion where we're going to walk through and we're going to pair individuals together. So pairing up the mentor and mentee. And that's going to depend on a variety of different scenarios that I'll go to in a little bit later on. And then the mentoring program will go on for an entire year, okay? We're going to have quarterly touch bases where we're going to kind of survey each of the mentor-mentee relationships, see how everything's going, see how we need to adjust, okay? And then at the end of the year, we'll have a survey at the end, see how everything went, take any of your constructive feedback and implement those things back in the program. So resources to you right now. Oh, and then real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to the AGIC Outreach Committee, Sage, Donaldson, and Morgana for supporting and developing this amazing graphic, and also just for everyone helping out with just things, get things going. So I could not have done this without you guys. So resource-wise, we have a number of different things. We've got these flyers that you see here on the side, which really are targeted to the mentor and the mentee, and really help them understand, you know, what is your role and what would you get out of becoming part of this community. We're making some updates to the AGIC website as well, and that will be coming shortly. And then we also have a story map, which is linked in here, and these slides will be shared with everyone, so don't worry about those links will be in there, but I'm going to just transition over so everyone can see. So this is a story map that was developed that really goes into details about frequently asked questions, timelines related to the mentoring program. It gives more detailed information about the flyers, about, you know, what would you get out of it as a mentor or a mentee. And then just for the purposes of being transparent, a high-level overview of how are we doing our pairing of the mentors and mentees. And it's a combination of the interests that you have, where you live, you know, geographically within the state. We want to pair people that are close to each other as much as possible, so that way you can meet face-to-face if you desire, and not have someone, you know, paired together that lives in Tucson and with someone else that lives in Flagstaff. You know, talk through, you know, what goals do you have for each other? What experience, you know, we want to make sure we pair, if a mentee is looking for experience with technology, that we pair someone who understands that technology. And then any other miscellaneous activities, whether that's, you know, your industry or your gender. So all of that is just, there's a lot of things that are described like that in the application that will get to the heart of the matter of that. We will get that information from you when you apply to the program, and then we'll kind of build it into this in an automated workflow to help do some pairing. Okay. And again, you know, some of the benefits of the program, you know, getting the word out, feedback, recognition for doing this hard work, and then at the very bottom here, of course, is the actual application. And so I encourage you to go in there and apply, and get going. And you can see here, we've also built a map that shows where people have applied already within the agency, and there's a lot of folks that are already have already applied. And so with that, go back to here. So how to apply. So again, the slides will be shared, so no need to write this link down, but the application is at this link, as well as it's in the story map, so you can get to it. Submissions are going to close by the end of November, and the program will start at the beginning of 2022. Let's see. And I think one thing I kind of want to, you know, kind of discuss briefly is I've gotten a lot of feedback about who should really be a mentor and who should be a mentee. And I think it's not uncommon for us to get in our heads and think, oh, I can't be a mentor. You know, I'm not sure if I'm the right fit for something like this. If we're all geospatial professionals here, and we all have something that we could give back to the community. So I think all of us could be mentors, and it's completely okay to apply as a mentor and as a mentee. Okay. And so I encourage you to put yourself out there at every facet of your career to be able to give back to this community, and provide guidance at all levels of your career. Okay. So with that, Jenna, I will here's my contact information, as well as this is the AGIC mentoring email. If there are any questions that come up, and I'll open it back up for questions, and I will stop sharing. See if there's any questions in the chat.
Patrick, there are not. You must have done a fantastic job covering every detail that anybody could ask. So I appreciate it.
I must have. Well, again, if there's any questions that do come up, I'll be participating in the conference. You know, feel free to reach out. I'm an open book, and I'm very passionate about this.
Thank you, Patrick. I think it's an awesome opportunity for Arizona, and just great for all of us to connect, right, and learn from each other. I really appreciate all your hard work on this, so thank you.
Thank you, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their conference.
Yep, absolutely. So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Jennifer Pasilis. She's going to give us a tutorial in how to be better at LinkedIn, which I know I need. So thank you, Jen, for joining us. I'm going to pass it off to you.
Certainly. Thanks. And I'm going to share my screen. And I think you're seeing my slide now.
It's working on it. I don't see it just yet. Yes, maybe turn off your video and then share again. That might help.
Let me.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, so know me. Cool. All right. Thanks, Jenna, for the intro. And let's just jump right into it. Are you on LinkedIn? This has become a more frequent question as I get to know people and things like that. I just have to confront a little bit of the elephant in the room. For those of you who know me really well, I am not on any social media. I am not on Facebook. I am not on the Twitters. I do not do Instagram, nothing. The only thing that I am on is LinkedIn. And so it's kind of funny that somebody who is just, you know, I don't know if I can say anti-social media, but I don't participate in the other stuff. So here I am to tell you how to do LinkedIn. Kind of funny. But I find that LinkedIn is a really good tool to stay up to date with what is going on out there. And also to kind of get you out there. We tend to get a little bit siloed in our offices, in our second bedrooms, in our kitchen table areas, wherever we may be working right now. And like for me, I do have an intern right now, but before that, I was the only GIS person in my department. So I literally didn't talk to any other GIS people in person on a day-to-day basis. So LinkedIn became a way to kind of keep my foot in the water out there. And this is all kind of driven off of your profile. So let's jump kind of right into it here. Oops, maybe. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, why LinkedIn? Not only is it social media, but it is a professional network. So it's a tool that you can use to promote yourself, promote your professional life, celebrate any milestones you may have, show off some skills, talk about your interests. But it has that professional bent to it. So you're not bogged down with what somebody had for lunch today or that other stuff. And it also functions as a virtual business card. Now, you know, in the before times when we'd be meeting in person, you'd go to a conference, you'd meet new people, you'd grab their business cards. So if you ever needed to get back to them with something, or if you suddenly remembered, oh, I know somebody who knows something about that, you would look up your little business card and your little Rolodex or your binder, and you would be able to contact them. Well, this now with LinkedIn, of course, brings everything electronic, and you can do this all virtually now. And you know, you can make those connections, and then you can go back and through filters and searching, you can find the person that you had that conversation with once at the AGIC conference in, you know, 2005. So it is just another way to kind of manage your professional contacts in here. So let's set up a profile. Because everything is based off of your profile, which is really just a summary of your professional experience. What you're going to need to do is you're going to have to come up with 2 images, and you'll also need basically your resume. So to set up your profile, first you need to add your profile image. You need to have a picture of yourself on there. Number one, it helps people realize, like, if they're connecting with the right person. Is this the Jennifer that I met? And it just gives you a more professional look on the page. And as you can see, it can also give you a timeline of how wacky your hair has gotten over time, gotten grayer and longer and stuff like that. So take a selfie, have somebody take a photo of you, whatever it is, just get a photo up there. You'll find that the people that don't have photos don't get as many contacts. They don't get as many job offers. If you are out there looking for a job, you're going to have far fewer contacts if you don't post a photo of yourself. Then the second thing that you need to do is add your banner image. Now, most of us, I think, have access to ARC products or whatever. Make a map of the area that you work in. This is a park. I'm showing off all the assets in the park. I do a lot of asset management. So this was a previous banner, but lately I've been out in the parks collecting data a lot lately, and it's just been beautiful out there some mornings. And so right now my current photo is like this slightly overcast morning that I had out in a park that it was just beautiful and absolutely green out there. And it's like how, rare it is for the desert to be green all the time. So you want to upload your personal image there and your banner image. In the bottom corner, it shows the size for that. And you want to make those PNGs or JPEGs. The next thing you need to do is to construct your about statement. This is kind of a really brief summary, and you do want to keep it brief. Make it direct and simple and clear so that if somebody is reading your about summary statement, they understand what it is that you do. Sometimes you'll find people write very long introductions. I think it's a little more efficient to do a shorter introduction and then have the details maybe in the detail of what you do at your job. So, for me, I say I'm a GIS professional with a background in physical sciences and natural resources who has worked for Tucson area local governments and park departments since 2004. So you have an idea of how long I've been doing GIS in the government realm. And like what my background is in. And then I go on to say, I use Esri and Cartograph products to provide all around GIS support and asset management for Tucson Parks and Recreation. So what I'm doing is GIS and asset management. How am I doing that? I'm using Esri and Cartograph projects. Where am I doing this? Tucson Parks and Recreation. So, you can run through the how, when, where, why, who stuff in this. I think it's nice to have a short, sweet, direct about summary statement in there. And then next, you just basically grab your resume. So there's a lot of things that you can put in there. Not everybody's going to have everything on this list, but I'll show you some examples of what I've got on mine. So under the background, you have work experience, and I have more listed than was shown on here. I've chosen to just do a short and sweet thing saying, I am the GIS project manager. I work for the city of Tucson in Tucson Parks and Recreation. You can get into all those things that you put on your resume, those action verbs of, directed this project or, created this online map. You can get into all that detail if you like to. I personally just didn't want to get into it and then have to change it frequently. So I just kind of left it kind of plain. But go ahead and list everything that is related to kind of the topic that you are going to be dealing with on LinkedIn. For me, it's GIS, so I have all my jobs that are related to GIS, including when I was a teaching assistant for the GIST program. And, things that don't necessarily fall into this realm, I have chosen to leave out right now. You also want to list your education. I have all of my degrees on here. And again, it's kind of like the work experience thing. You can get as deep or as light as you want into this. For my master's in watershed management, I have what my thesis was. I have the honors that I received. Here's a copy of my thesis. If you have a final project, go ahead and link the PDF up there so people can look at what you're doing. I didn't have a PDF for my second, for the GIST master's. So I just have the title of it there. If you have gotten any licenses or certifications, if you're a GISP, put that in there. If you have any major volunteer experience, if you are on a board, if you are working with AGIC, if you are doing something in your community, doesn't necessarily have to be related to your job, throw that on there too. Then we move on to accomplishments, and there's a ton of different things that you can put in here. I have chosen to put, as far as courses go, not every course that I do, but I took the cartography, the Esri cartography MOOC in February. I threw that on there. I have attended some leadership academy programs. I'm putting those things on there. I did a supervisor training. I put that on there. The organizations that you're either a member of, or if you are on a board or chair or something like that, throw those in there. It shows how you're getting out into your community and helping. Any honors and awards you may have received, publications from when I was in academia, but you can also have, if you know multiple languages, put them on there. If there are test scores for like an industry test or something, put that on there. Major projects that you have worked on that you want to kind of show off the type of work that you want to do, throw those in there too. You can get as detailed or not as you would like on this, but basically I always think the more information, the better. Somebody will get a better view of you as a whole when you get more information up there. Boop. So building your network and curating your feed. So once you've got your profile up there, then you start poking around. And there's two different ways that you can link up with people. You can connect with them. So I am connected with Jenna, let's say. She has become like a first degree connection. Anybody that Jenna is connected to is a second degree to me, unless they connect with me also. And sometimes that's how you find people. It's like, oh, they know Jenna also. And when you are searching for people, when you're trying to do the filters, you can filter by, this is somebody that I am connected with, or it's a second, or it's a third. And third is basically anybody that's those 3 steps out and beyond. You can also just follow people. Some people don't accept connections. Some people you want to just kind of follow and see what they post, but you don't necessarily know them. You don't necessarily want to connect with them. You just want to kind of see. And you also have to kind of figure out how you want to play this. So when I first joined LinkedIn, I've done it twice. So the first time I joined LinkedIn, within like, it seemed seconds, I had a couple people that are like, hey, link up with me. We went to the same university. And it's like, okay, I don't know you. You don't do anything, in my professional realm. Like, it was just, we went to the same university. I was like, and I kind of got bombed with a bunch of stuff at the beginning and kind of freaked out and said, I can't do this because, no social media. But I decided to try it again. And this time I came up with my rule of, I have to know somebody, either directly in person to connect with them, or like I have connected with a lot of people in Arizona GIS that I haven't necessarily met in person yet, but we're in this community through AGIC of Arizona GIS. And so I have connected with a lot of people. I also, because I did teach for the GIST program for many years, have like many classes of students. So I have a lot of connections, but you can decide how you want to do this. Do you just keep it to people you actually know and have met in person? Do you want to keep it to kind of your local area, or are you just open to connect with anybody? Any of it is fine. And then you want to curate your feed. So once you start getting in there and you start making connections, you'll start seeing what your connections are posting. And sometimes you will find that there's a lot of really great stuff, like John Nelson at Esri posts tons of videos of how-tos for cartography, really interesting stuff. So I have followed him because I want to see what he's doing. He's always doing something really interesting. But there has been occasions where somebody that I am connected to starts posting stuff that I don't want to see for various reasons. And so I've decided that I'm going to unfollow them. I'm still connected to them, but I am just not seeing their posts because their posts were, bringing me down and stuff. So so you can unfollow and they're none the wiser, but you don't get the content that you are not interested in seeing in your feed. You can also remove a connection. And let's say that somebody has gone like off the deep end on something crazy and you're just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with that at all. You can remove that connection. They won't be notified. You'll just not see that anymore. You can also, for any given post, you can right click on the little 3 dots up in the corner and you can choose, I don't want to see this. And this is a way that you can curate topics. If you're getting a whole bunch of stuff about, say, I don't know, pools, but I do not work in pools, I can say, I don't want to see stuff about pools. And so that way you can kind of narrow down what kind of content that you're seeing. And then, of course, there are those occasions where you can report posts if there's something inappropriate, if there's hateful speech, if there's something that's adult content that should not be on here, something that really violates policy, you can report. And that can also curate your feed. So while you're out and about on there, we need to talk about a little do's and don'ts. Just like at any social media, there's appropriate things to be doing on LinkedIn that, or let's reverse that. There are things that you would do on other social media that are not appropriate for LinkedIn. You do want to showcase your professional life. Tell everybody what you're doing. Ask questions and participate in conversations. This is how you learn things. If you saw somebody's post about doing a particular project and you have a question, shoot them a question. Say, hey, I want to learn more about this. Can you talk about blah, blah, blah? And then also celebrate others' accomplishments. It's really nice to see when somebody has spent a really long time working on a story map or some sort of online map that in the back end took months and months and months to probably get everything together and get it working properly. Celebrate that. When they send it out in there and say, hey, look what I did, you can say, attaboy, that's awesome. On the other side, you do not want to provoke pick fights or be rude. This is not the place for it. You don't want to talk about politics, religion, any other divisive topic. And people will let you know when you post stuff, they will come at you. So just don't do it. Keep it professional. And then this one is one that actually came up specifically. Don't complain about your current employer. Like if you're having an issue at work, it's okay to talk about that issue, but it's a different thing to complain specifically about a company, an employer, a boss. I had a former student one time post something that I ended up just directly messaging him saying, you should probably not say that if you're looking for a new job, because, HR, anybody who's interviewing anything, more than likely is Googling you, might find this post and see how you're talking about your current person. And it's just bad form to do that. Discussing a problem is a different thing than complaining. Keep it on the discussion part, or ask a question about how somebody else has confronted this issue if they have. So yeah, just keep it professional, keep it light. And enjoy all the really cool stuff that everybody has put out there. So this is my totally short and sweet presentation. Are you on LinkedIn? I am, you know I am. So there is my contact information. There is where you can find me on LinkedIn. Connect up with me, especially if I'm talking to you in some other discussions or in chats or whatever. Feel free to link up. I like to expand my network of Arizona GIS people. And that brings me to the end of my thing. I will stop sharing. And if there's any questions, let me know.
We do have a couple questions.
Okay.
We have one question asking, where would you put things like completing the URISA leadership program on your profile?
So I put that in courses. You could, like, it depends. If you wanted to, if it's associated with a specific job, you could put that as a bullet underneath that job. You could put it in courses. And I think, I'm pulling up LinkedIn really quick here. I think there are, oops, let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Darn it, Jennifer. I think those two are probably the easiest one to kind of merge that into. Why can I not find what I'm looking for? Sorry. Yeah, so you can either, if it's tied to a specific job, you can tie it to, you can put it in that information, or you can put it separately, like I have for some things in the courses, accomplishments, and then courses. Yeah.
Okay. You want another question?
Sure.
What's the best way to handle a connection request for someone that you don't recognize? Are there any concerns for accepting these?
So I think the impulse is to accept anybody's connection because we're nice people. We like to make these connections. You don't want to disappoint somebody. But I have to say, I simply ignore some things that I just don't know. I had one post, I was very excited about this. I had one post that I just looked at it yesterday. It has almost 39,000 views. It was something that was multidisciplinary. It had to do with geology, geography, and cross-stitching. And so I posted that and it just went bonkers. And I had a lot of people from literally all over the world asking to connect with me. And I'm like, I don't, that's a really far, you're not really connected to me. I appreciated it, of course, but I have chosen, like I said before, to only connect with people that I know or are in my Arizona community. They always have the option to follow if the connection isn't accepted, but they still want to see what you're saying, they can follow you. And if your paths do cross, you can always go back and the system will show what invitations you have. So you can go back and find them again if you decide that you want to connect with them. Is there anything else?
Yep. And one more we have is what's a reasonable amount of time to spend on curating your network?
So for me, the time I spend on LinkedIn waxes and wanes. Sometimes I'm on there frequently. I kind of pop on, see what's been posted, type of thing. Other times, like in the run up to a conference or something, I don't have as much time to poke around on there. So I, might be gone for a little while. So it kind of depends upon how much time you want to invest in it. And I would say posting things should take priority to get established. And then, you're, again, like it can wax and wane as far as how often you're posting stuff. But if you're doing something interesting, or like with me, I said I was, going out to some parks lately to collect data. I'm throwing out a post saying, hey, it's a beautiful morning at Reed Park. And it's just showing people what you're doing. So if you have the opportunity, if you get to do some field work, definitely throw that out there. If you go to a conference, throw that on there. But I've been on LinkedIn for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years now. And it's a fine tuning. Right now, I don't get too many things that are inappropriate or, out of like from left field. And so I think I've done a pretty good deal of curating. There's also, the system will give you suggestions of who you should connect with. There are, lots of famous people, lots of big companies. You can hook up with organizations, your college at the university. So not only U of A, but for me, also the School of Geography and the Geosciences program. So you can really kind of dial it in. I've also found friends from way back when that I have otherwise not connected with. And so I can see like what they're doing now, which is very interesting. So it's kind of one of those, you'll get as much of it out of it as you put into it. You can go on there, you can kind of be a lurker, like Jenna was saying. But the more you see what people are posting, I think the more that you're going to end up post too. Cool.
And we have a really interesting one I think would be helpful for a few people. This is coming from Shannon. She's currently a student and actively looking for employment, but she's unsure if she should list her current fast food position that she's working. That's just to tie her over until she gets a GIS position. She was told by a friend that the fast food position would look bad.
Wow, that's a really good question. I wish I was more of an HR person to see like what the prevailing like wisdom was on this. I think of LinkedIn as kind of a resume. So do you want to have a gap? Or do you want to put out what's out there? When you're a student or when you're first starting out, you're not going to have much history. And so there's nothing wrong with putting what you're doing now. LinkedIn also has tools, which I haven't explored because I haven't looked for a job since I've been on here, but you can put a little banner on your profile picture that says open to work. And so I think you can also flag, let's see here. You can also flag like if you are employed, if you're looking for work and stuff like that. So I think you should explore the tools that LinkedIn has for job searches. That's a whole other section of stuff that I haven't delved into yet. You can also in your about summary paragraph or sentences, say what you want and that this is what I'm doing now, but I am actively seeking XYZ. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but when you do get that first GIS job, that fast food thing can just roll right off and say, hey, I'm a tech here, or I'm an analyst here, or whatever it may be. I have a document that is just a huge running list of everything I've done, like every job I've had since I was 16. All of the coursework that I've done, all of the presentations that I've done, so that when I'm applying for a new job, I go to that master list and I pull out what's appropriate. And you should probably do that for LinkedIn too. You can have like all the stuff that you have done. What's the most appropriate thing that I should put out there now? You don't want to necessarily say that you're not working. So I don't think like adding in fast food is necessarily a bad thing. But make sure that you put in there that this is what you're aiming for. I hope that's okay. I'm not an HR person, so it's hard. I don't know. This is my best guess on that one.
No more questions. There's just a comment from Bill Knight that he said, in my honest opinion, if you're a student, then not having employment is not a big deal. I'd say you don't need to put your fast food experience on LinkedIn. And then on the other hand, Lisa said that maybe a fast food person could be framed as an essential worker position on your profile.
Good point. Absolutely. Cool. Anything else?
And that's it that I have.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, thank you. That was really informative, and I know it helped me a lot, so I really appreciate it. So everybody that has joined us today, you're going to get a few more minutes back to your day. Just a reminder that we have networking over lunch, so go to the discussion section of the attendee hub, and then our sessions start back up at 1 p.m. So thank you. Remember to take our survey as well. That will help us as we move forward and give us some good feedback on today's session. So thank you all.